Hey, how's it going everyone? We're here with Uchiha Sasuke, he who bears all hatred. That's right, this is the brand new Sasuke figure, so much better than the old one, it isn't even close. But yeah, so the revival of the line has finally kicked off as June 18th. So we've got Naruto and Sasuke now. Sakura is coming next month. It would have been pretty cool to get all three at the same time, but I guess it was a bit too much. But we do have, obviously, Naruto and Sasuke. If you want to check out the Naruto review, please do so. Linked below or above or somewhere. Just check out the channel, you will find it. But yeah, he's basically a straight re-release of the Itachi battle version which we have here. Basically comes with the same stuff. Overall, the same design for the most part. Instead of the vest, he does have a full top though. But we'll check out the differences a little bit later. For those who are huge Naruto fans and maybe first time S.H Figuarts collectors, one thing to point out with is the Tamashii quality seal on the front. That is one way to tell apart fake and legitimate figures or not. The figures new like this, there shouldn't be any bootlegs, but if you're watching this a year or two down the line, and if those scoundrels have dropped out bootleg versions, that is one point to look at if you are buying second hand. On the back we do have the usual Bandai spirits and information and a selection of images showcasing the cool faces. We've got the Sharingan, Rinnegan, his katana, Chidori effect and all that cool stuff. Anyway, yeah, let's just jump straight in and get him out of the box. Okay, so we've got Sasuke out of his box, and in the centre we've got Sasuke himself with those basic eyes, just the non-effect version there, but we do have the cool Sharingan ones on the side, and then the split Sharingan and Rinnegan on the right with the kind of open mouth, about to shout type of look, whereas we've got the teeth gritting and then just the neutral Sharingan look there. He also has his katana, the sheath. I guess this is the sheath plus, sorry, sheath and scarab, the handle part all combined, whereas this is the empty sheath, and then we've kind of got him slightly drawing it. So that's really cool. This actually connects to this, which I think is a really good improvement over the original release. We've also got a little bit of his cord here. So this one here has a stop where you can slide this in. So this time it's interchangeable. The base version, which is in there now, is just the completely flat sealed rope look. So that's really cool. So we get a nice smooth look there. Anyway, over on the other side we do have the Chidori, and then we have, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs of hands. So the kind of gripping ones, the more gripping, and the full grip. A lot of gripping hands, but these ones are designed for holding the katana. Then we've got the more kind of curved hand there, kind of a dripping down look. So nice variety actually, really good to see. And you might be wondering, but where's this hand to attach to Chidori? Well, they've actually done something quite unique. This one here, you actually pop the hand off and it's the peg that attaches in. So I think that's really cool. That means it is going to be a versatile effect. I haven't tried it on other figure lines yet, but I think there is some room for experimentation there, which is really cool to see. I like the fact that it's a universal effect. A lot of ones recently, they have a unique hand which will attach, which is good. It makes it easy for posing, but something like this which goes over the whole hand, I think having it universal by connecting to the peg is a good step forward. But yeah, let's pop him out of this clamshell and get a close look at that finish. Okay, so we've got Sasuke spinning around here, and the first thing you'll notice on the back is his Uchiha, his family crest on his back of his top looks really nice. Nice crisp lines with a dark outline around. And then, yeah, there is actually a little bit of kind of weathering shading on his fabric there. I mean, this is actually rubber, but his sort of I don't even know what you call it, uniform he has. But yeah, it's nice to see that there is a little bit of weathering there, so you do get that depth and contrast coming through. As he swings around to the front, the nice texture thread, that whole rope is nice, and then the actual rope itself here is split into 3 parts, so you do have several points of articulation, which we'll check out shortly. His jacket as well has some nice weathering there, very subtle again, but that zip looks really nice. Ooh. But yeah, as I was saying, that zip is really nice, got a nice silver down there, and it just really stands out. The collar's good as well, and then we've got the kind of redesigned of the joints, which does give them a lot better articulation compared to previous figures, just like the new Naruto figure. Also, it might be a little bit hard to tell, but he does have a new redesign of the ankle joints, which is great. Though his toes, I mean, again, I guess that's one issue with painted figures or toes where they have the open, I guess, toes with the joint. It can look a little bit weird. I mean, compared to the original releases, it is a lot better. Though, I think it's still one of those areas where I think shoed characters do look better. But yeah, I think, yeah, the skin tones look pretty nice, and those faces are definitely looking good. I mean, it looks like Sasuke. The old ones, it's like, if you squint, yeah, Sasuke. But this, definitely, first look, you can definitely tell it is him. And the hair looks really good too. Nice spikes there, and everything's looking, yeah, he looks good. I'm happy. Anyway, the next important thing, or I should say the most important thing, is the articulation in these figures, so let's check that out. So starting from his head, the tilt back is a bit limited, but he can shift his neck forward quite far, so that will help to get him looking up. So it's not as bad as what you'd expect, considering he does have that really thick collar on his top. But one thing that is really good is, same for Naruto, he's got the split here. So if you have a look at that, so you've got the hair on his neck and then his head part as well. So what that means is you can actually bend his head forward really far. Obviously, if you look from the back on an angle, you will see a gap in there. No, you can kind of stick that skinner finger in there. But if you pose him that far forward, you're not going to be looking from this angle. So forward, on the side, it's really good. And then he does have that nice head tilt going on. These heads are just so much better compared to the original. I like the split hair design. It really does open up a lot more room for articulation, which is excellent. So I mean, even with his collar there, he can look up pretty well. So it's nowhere near as restricted as what you would expect. Anyway, down to his shoulder now. So he's got the 1, 2, 3 joints there. His sleeve will move individually. And then he's got the inner joint here. But yeah, with the extra butterfly joint there is nice. Everything will move individually. So his outer shoulder swivels around, and you do have the extra range. I mean, he can swivel that arm back quite far. I mean, I think that is really good. A little bit ugly, of course, depending on the angle. But yeah, that is the trade-off. The elbows there, pretty standard. A little bit more range there could have been quite nice. But overall, not too shabby. His wrist actually has a decent range of articulation too. But everything feels really nice. All the joints move well. Due to the extra point of articulation, a little bit more fiddly compared to some figures, but definitely worthwhile since you do get extra range. It's also nice that his check-in has a nice big curve in, so that means you can swivel his arm over, and it gets, well, normally most figures will kind of stop about here, but due to that curve he can bend all the way over, which is really nice to see. Now for his upper body, he does have the bottom waist area which will move slightly, and he's got the inner joints as well, which, yeah, huge range. I mean, you can swivel all the way around like you're seen from The Exorcist. But yeah, so if you kind of hold that down tight, his upper part will move a few millimeters either side, not too much. Most of the motion will come from that inner area, but due to the curve design, means he can bend forward a lot further than he otherwise would, and same for going back. And that back articulation is extremely good. Reminds me very much of the new Naruto figure as well. So I'm loving the extra range articulation, and it doesn't look too bad either. Now on his old figure, this, I guess, his waist wrap shore thing was a bit of a pain because it is quite thick. This one is actually a really thin, soft rubber, so it doesn't really get in the way of his articulation too much, which is really nice to see. So you can check out his legs there, decent range of splits there, and yeah, I mean, the rubber just moves with it and just stays there, doesn't force it back down or anything like that, which is great. Same if we kind of move this out of the way. So his knee joint is really nice, great range there, and it actually blends in nicely too. I mean, I think overall the legs on this figure is really nice, and like the Naruto as well, there's a little bit extra space there, so his a few millimeters of movement on either side on his upper thigh to us. I think all this kind of combines to give him a really good range of articulation, and you can also swivel on that point as well. Again, not the prettiest. If it was kind of curved, blend in, I think it'll be quite nice. However, Sasuke does have these flaps which hides it all. So for this figure, not really an issue. Moving down to his feet, I love these new design. Look at that, you can swivel left and right easily, back and forward. I mean, if you go forward too far, you will get a gap there. That is the downside, obviously, of this new design, but I think it's a big step forward compared to the older ones. He also has his upper ankle there as well, so you get lots of points of articulation, which makes posing so much easier. A lot more freedom there. And he does have that toe tip, and as I was mentioning earlier, it's a little bit weird with the paint partly on one joint and not the other, and that isn't really too much you can do though to stop that. So yeah, overall articulation really good, and as I mentioned earlier, this part does have a few joints, so the main joint that swivels on his main rope, and then the flaps as well. So yeah, everything there in terms of articulation is very good. I mean, Naruto one, he's a simple design, so really easy to pose, but I think they pulled off Sasuke extremely well with a new redesign. Everything moves nicely. No real bad articulation, to be honest. Yeah, let's just jump over to the accessories now. So starting with the face, this is the base one. I think, yeah, overall it looks pretty nice. It looks like Sasuke, a good sculpt, just very clean and smooth. To change the faceplates, you can just pop his bangs off, and this is pretty much the same design as the old one, really. The faceplate will just pop off like so. Once you've got the new faceplate, just line up the pegs, push it on, and then you can pop his bangs back on top. And yeah, I think the shutting gun faces again just look so good. Really nice, clean, crisp printing. This is actually the Mangekyo shutting gun. Yeah, and it looks really nice. Super clean and crisp printing on those. And I like the mouth as well. Pretty straightforward and simple, with a little bit extra colouring just around the edge to show the gums. Okay, the next face up is the basic shutting gun. Again, yeah, it looks really good. And he has the kind of slight frowning, neutral, brooding look that Sasuke has, so very fitting. And finally we have the face with the most amount of emotion, and that is the split Sharingan and Rinnegan face, and he's kind of doing that subtle shouting expression with his kind of hair coming down in a very nice emo style fitting of his character. But yeah, I think it looks really nice. Definitely my favourite of the lot. Which one's your favourite face? Let me know below. I'm keen to hear. I mean, what else would you like to see? I think maybe one with some Amaterasu fire coming out, I think would have been really cool, but I guess that could be in the future for another release for Sasuke. Okay, so we've got the Chidori here with a nice blue colour, and it's kind of got a white tip as well. Yeah, I think overall looks nice. You can see the peg hole in there. So let's put it on. Just grab the wrist, give it a swivel, and it'll pop right off. And then just line it up and just push it on. Thankfully it's not too pointy or stabby on the tip here, so you shouldn't hurt yourself too much. It's a little bit hard to get on. Where is it? There we go. I think that's it. Nice. I think that works really good, effective. You can't even tell that he doesn't have his hand. Yeah, I like the fact that he just pops straight onto the peg, which makes it interchangeable with other figures. Look, this. There we go. So yeah, the other accessories were the katana. So we have a look on the back here. This part of his rope just pops off, just held on by a single peg. Once you've taken that off, just line up the next one and it should just slot straight in. Once you've done that, you can then take the katana and just slide it through the gap. I think, yeah, super simple. I like the fact that you can actually change it this time, and being on a peg, it does allow you to move it around a little bit depending on the angle that you want for the pose. Speaking of poses, let's put on the one that has the katana being drawn. I think that one looks really good. So you can see there's a little wee peg hole on the end there. This will just slot straight through. Pop off the hand, get one that will hold the katana, and just slot this on. Get the blade, and which way does this need to go? Just like so. You can angle it down. There we go. So that was just quickly and roughly put on, but very effective. Okay, so time for a bit of a size and comparison to the old figure. We've got the new Sasuke here with his new style of katana, and obviously the colouring. So compared to the old one, his colours are a lot more deeper and there's a nicer purple, whereas the old Sasuke is a very light pastel purple, and the other colours are subtle too. Though he does have the painted chest colours, I think overall the skin tones match up pretty well. While the old effect is quite different, I think it's still pretty effective. I actually kind of prefer the colour. I like the lighter blue compared to the new darker version. We also have the brand new Naruto here as well, just to compare with the new Sasuke in terms of size comparisons and everything like that. I think overall it works out pretty good. The sizing for the new and old are pretty much identical actually, so it isn't too much of a difference there, and overall very similar. You can see how it is a huge improvement over the old one though, and that really just does come down to the technology and I guess the skill of the makers now. I mean, it has been quite a few years since the old Sasuke here released, but you can see the old style with joints here for metal pegs. I mean, the new ones are just so much more subtle, plus you also get the extra range of articulation, which was not possible with the old figures. And the old Sasuke had a very small symbol, whereas the new one has a nice big one that's kind of etched into his jacket as well. The zip, everything on the new one just looks good, especially with that little added touch of weathering, even if it is very subtle. But yeah, what do you think? I mean, this one's old, still pretty good. I mean, it has a place in the collection, even if it is kind of at the back, hidden behind the new figures. But he does have a unique design, which the new one obviously doesn't have, so it is good to have the old one still. I mean, it's possible we may get a direct upgrade of the old Sasuke in the future with the vest, but personally I much prefer the design with the jacket that the current brand new Sasuke here is rocking. So that brings us to the pros and cons of the brand new Sasuke here, He Who Bears Hatred. Besides that name, I think he's a really good figure. Yeah, I like how they've gone with a thin plastic so the his clothing doesn't get in the way, and it actually helps hide some of those joints. The new design for his katana I absolutely love. I like how you can change this back piece out, how he has the katana being drawn that attaches and it splits so it's easy to attach. The fact that the effect actually attaches via the peg is a huge improvement. And then the faces, I mean, the sculpt is great, the printing is fantastic, the hair looks good. Yeah, I mean, overall I'm really happy. I mean, I'm not a huge Sasuke character fan, but I think this figure is actually really nice. In terms of cons, I'm still not a huge fan of the feet, how it kind of has the split for the movement on his skin tone as well. It just kind of sticks out a little bit. I mean, it's not a huge issue, but a little bit there. I kind of would have liked to see the his family crest a little bit more brighter. It's quite a muted colour. I can't actually remember how I read it was in this period for the show, so maybe it is very accurate, but personally I still would have liked just to pop a little bit more. A very, very small con, I prefer the old effect colour, that kind of lighter, brighter blue, and I think maybe the white on the front here is a little bit strong. I like how it's there, but a little bit weaker would have been nice. But yeah, other than that, he's pretty cheap retail release, lots of accessories, overall really nice. Articulation is great. I mean, some points of articulation kind of stick out, like the crossing of his chest there. It's not a huge issue, but he does get some big gaps in his shoulder depending on how you pose him. You can kind of move this around and fiddle with it to try and close up a bit. But yeah, and that is one downside. More articulation often means slightly bigger gaps as one of the trade-offs. But overall, very happy. Super pumped to get Sakura next month, and then the next releases after that. I'm really hoping we get a new Jiraiya, Orochimaru and Tsunade. At least those three together would be excellent. But who else do you guys want from the new Naruto line? Drop a comment below who you're hoping for next, and then after that. Yeah, I think the way these things are made, yeah, I'm looking forward to the future of this line. I think we're definitely going to get quite a few more characters, because I think, yeah, people will be jumping on these figures, because, I mean, great articulation and they look good. Going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. There will be photos of this guy at the end of this video and on rockchala.com, so jump on there, 360 images, individual images, group shots with Naruto and so forth. And that is all for Sasuke here. So yeah, I'll catch you next month with Sakura.